Hi, Dr. H here again with Family-Centered Parenting. Today I want to talk about how we can help our children cope with the bad things happening in the world. As we know, there's no shortage of bad things that we hear on the news, and our children, no matter what we do, they're exposed to that. So what is our goal? Our goal is to have our children that they have the tools to cope with life's challenges while remaining hopeful and avoiding anxiety and depression. We know anxiety and depression rates have increased dramatically, and maybe our kids don't have all the tools they need to cope with that. So again, there's no shortage of tragedy and suffering in the news, and we can't shield our children from this. For example, what's going on now with Israel and Hamas and the situation, their protests in the United States, pro-Israel, pro-Hamas, pro-Palestinian, the causes go back. People are reliving history. It's really filling up our news cycle. And then we have the images of the hostages, the stories of brutality by Hamas fighters. It's a mess. And it's a mess for us as adults to integrate this into our being and consciousness. Imagine how it impacts on our children. So certainly our parental instinct is to protect. And frankly, sometimes we want to wrap a cocoon around our kids. But again, this, of course, is not possible. Between the 24-hour news cycle, social media, it's just impossible to shield our children from what's going on in the world. We try our best, but it's just impossible. So what we need to do is keep our kids safe while building resilience. And this is a fine line. And I use the word resilience quite often. Resilience is an important part of who we are. To define it, it's difficult. But basically, I would say it's confidence in risk, how we handle adversity, and how we handle adversity throughout life. Therefore, the question is, how do we build resilience and the challenges of the competing instincts of a parent to protect while keeping and knowing that a child needs to learn how to cope on their own? That's the toughest part of helping our children build resilience as parents. I'll give you a little story, an anecdote in my family. One of my granddaughters was having some problems with a teacher and told my daughter what was going on. Now, one response would be my daughter to immediately contact the teacher and try to figure out what to do. And that's a natural instinct, protect our kids. But instead she stopped and she said, okay, now we understand the problem. How do you think it could be handled? And my granddaughter's first instinct was saying, well, maybe I could have a chat with the teacher and tell her what's going on. And my daughter said, give it a try. What do we have to lose? Knowing that if it was not successful in intervention, my daughter would contact the teacher and get involved. My granddaughter came home from school, and what did she say? She asked the teacher for some alone time. During a prep period, she met with the teacher, told her what's going on. The teacher offered some suggestions that she could modify in the classroom. And my granddaughter came home feeling pride that she was able to solve the problem. My daughter reinforced that pride, and that was a step of building resilience. She learned how to handle a problem on her own. And that gave her the strength the next time there was a problem, that she would have the confidence to go forward and try to solve it herself. And the parent and my daughter made a point of being in the background, but still being available if needed. So there was the protection, but at the same time, it was offering my granddaughter the opportunity to solve the problem on her own and build her resilience. So that's part of building resilience. It's immediate, small steps, depending on the maturity of the child. That's what we're talking about. And basically, I'm talking about children above 7 years old. If we go into our stages of development, 7 is a critical time in cognitive development, and children start seeing the world in a similar way to adults. So it's a good time to really give them the room to be building their resilience. So those are the immediate steps, and we have to emphasize that bad things will happen, yet in the end, we usually overcome them. And that's the key message when we're handling with what's going on in the world that is unpleasant and bad news. And we could give concrete examples. For example, there is global world hunger. It's documented over the last 25 years. Vaccines have done a great job in mitigating the effects of viruses around the world. There is less poverty. And if we look at figures around the world in the last 25 years, there is a reduction in poverty. Therefore, we have, age-appropriate details that we can give our children to build some sense of optimism, continuity, that as a society, we do overcome these challenges, and when bad things happen, often there are solutions that grow out of them after we grieve and process the bad things that are happening. We have to encourage hope, and we can do that in little things and also in the big things. Now, in terms of little things, the micro aspects of life, that's easier to control and build hope. And we have to emphasize to our children that there is hope in solving the day-to-day problems. And we have to help them find the hopeful way of going forward and meeting the big issues. In the big picture, the macro level, what's going on in the world, obviously we don't offer much as parents that we can control. But on the other hand, we can mention that historically, give examples in our lifetime, how we've overcome these disasters. We have the 9/11. We have the assassination of President Kennedy. We have those things have occurred, and as a society, we've probably grown and learned from them. And we can tell our kids this. We can tell them the stories of hope and how things in life have improved. So there's two strengths that I want to emphasize. One is building resilience, giving our kids the tools to overcome those things in life that are difficult and helping them. Now, I will indicate that a certain amount of resilience, some kids are born a little bit more resilient than others. So we have to know our children and know which of our children need the most help in building resilience and which of our children seem to have a natural resilience which we need to reinforce and help them continue to use that as a tool. At the same time, we need to provide that protection and security so our kids do not feel overly threatened by what's going on in the world. Certainly, the pandemic was a huge issue, especially at the beginning with the lockdowns and the news stories and the number of deaths and the images of hospital workers overworked and strained and falling apart on the job. Our kids saw this. It was a huge dramatic event. So now we need to recover from that. And one of the ways we can show that because of science and vaccines, we're doing better. We have some new COVID now, but people aren't dying from it as they were in the past. There are new drugs that are helping. So we can remind our kids that out of this horrible tragedy, as a society, we have learned, and probably when the next virus comes along, we're going to be better prepared. Again, 2 points. I'll repeat. 1, inner resilience, the ability to overcome adversity. 2, providing a safety net for our kids that's real, that's authentic. We can't promise them that the Middle East will become a peaceful environment. We don't have a control over that. But we can promise them that we could keep them safe as best as possible and that there's still hope in the world. Protection and resilience are the keys. And a quick reminder before we go, I would just mention our book, Family-Centered Parenting, Your Guide to Growing Great Families, available on Amazon. Also check out our website, familycenteredparenting.com. And if you'd like, fill out the form and you'll be eligible for a free consultation about what's going on in your family. With that in mind, take care and goodbye.